The Dallas Cowboys, a team forever perched on the knife's edge between destiny and disaster, walked into Week 3 with the posture of a contender, the swagger of a franchise that still believes its star means something more than just paint on a helmet, and yet walked out shattered, exposed, unraveling, in a way that could not be dismissed as bad luck or a fluke. Because what happened against the Chicago Bears was more than a loss. It was a revelation, a stripping away of illusions, the kind of performance that leaves even the most loyal fans silent in their seats, staring at televisions or from stadium bleachers with that familiar pit in their stomach, the one that whispers, "Here we go again." It wasn't simply that they lost, it was how they lost, the manner of the collapse, the way every flaw that analysts had cautioned about, every concern fans had tried to push aside with preseason optimism, erupted into view under the harsh lights of primetime. Because from the opening series to the suffocating, demoralizing 19-play drive that Chicago used to drain 10 minutes off the clock, this was less a football game and more a slow-motion dissection of a team's weaknesses, and every cut drew blood. The defense, once thought to be a unit built on speed and aggression, a defense that even without Micah Parsons was supposed to retain some semblance of identity, instead collapsed into chaos, a patchwork of missed assignments and aging veterans who suddenly looked every bit their age. Malik Hooker wandering into wrong zones, Donovan Wilson arriving late on deep shots, linebackers flowing the wrong way, corners gambling and losing, and the result was a Bears offense that has been inconsistent at best through 2 weeks suddenly looking like a juggernaut. Caleb Williams standing tall in the pocket as if he'd been waiting for this exact matchup. As if he knew the Cowboys' secondary was ripe to be plucked apart like overripe fruit, delivering strike after strike. The ball arcing downfield with almost casual precision, each completion driving the dagger deeper. And for Dallas fans watching at home, the statistics that crawled across the broadcast screen confirmed what their eyes already knew. This was not just bad. This was catastrophic. A defense ranked 32nd in the league in efficiency, 32nd against the pass, 32nd in yards per attempt, and there's no spin that can make those numbers pretty. No Jerry Jones soundbite that can make them palatable, because those numbers scream what everyone now feels. This defense is broken, not cracked, not dented, but broken at its core. And the cruelest twist of fate is that the Micah Parsons trade, a move spun as bold, visionary, forward-looking, has left the present barren, stripped of the chaos engine who once masked flaws by sheer brilliance. And while it is tempting for fans to dream of a timeline where Parsons still roams the field in navy and silver, the truth is that even he could not have fixed this because this isn't about one player. It's systemic, a failure of scheme, of depth, of coaching, of foresight, a web of decisions that left the safeties too slow, the linebackers too thin, the corners too undisciplined. And the result is a defense that opponents now circle on the calendar as an opportunity, a feast, a chance to pad stats and climb leaderboards. And already the whispers have started about what Green Bay, what Detroit, what the Chargers will do in the coming weeks. Their offense is licking their lips at the thought of exploiting the same weaknesses Chicago exposed so effortlessly. But if the defense was a catastrophe, the offense was no salvation. Instead, it was a mirror reflecting its own set of flaws. Dak Prescott standing in the pocket, with the weight of the franchise on his shoulders, stripped of CeeDee Lamb mid-game, forced to settle for checkdowns to Jake Ferguson and underneath routes that went nowhere, every third down a funeral procession for momentum, every drive stalling before it could bloom into life, and even the run game, which opened with promise as Javonte Williams gashed Chicago at 6 yards a carry, with Turpin flashing speed on the edges, sputtered when it was needed most. Because football is not played in isolated moments but in context, and context demanded answers that never came. Context demanded creativity, demanded leadership, demanded fire, and instead the Cowboys trudged through possessions like a team already resigned to its fate. And what of coaching? What of Matt Eberflus, the defensive mind brought in to steady the ship? What of the staff tasked with making in-game adjustments, with saving pride if not victory? They stood silent, frozen, their coverages predictable, their blitzes ineffective, their rotations uninspired, as if incapable of recognizing that the plan had failed before halftime, as if waiting for divine intervention that never came. And so the unraveling continued, drive after drive, completion after completion, until the Bears' 19-play march drained not only the clock but the Cowboys' will, left the sidelines slumped, the fans in stunned quiet, the commentators circling phrases like rock bottom and historic collapse. And perhaps that is what it was. A historic collapse, the kind of night that will be remembered not as one of 80-plus games in a decade, but as the game, the inflection point where a season turned from promise to peril, from hope to dread. And looming above it all, like a shadow that cannot be escaped, is Jerry Jones, the architect of this roster, the voice that insists each year that greatness is just around the corner, the owner who preaches patience when patience has worn thin. And it is impossible to ignore that the fingerprints of this failure are his, that the gamble on Parsons, the refusal to replenish the secondary, the faith placed in declining veterans, the insistence that coaching stability mattered more than innovation. All of it coalesced into this moment, this night of unraveling. And the franchise he stewards is once again caught in its eternal cycle, the one Cowboys fans know too well, the cycle of preseason hope, September optimism, mid-season collapse, and December despair, a cycle that repeats not because of fate or bad luck, but because of choices, because of decisions, because of flaws that are not addressed, but repackaged year after year. And so when you ask how concerned should you be about the rest of the season, the answer is not just very concerned, it is existentially concerned. Because this is not a slump, not a rough stretch, but a systemic unraveling, the kind that does not fix itself in a week, the kind that requires a reckoning, a tearing down, a reimagining, and those are not things franchises do in season. Those are things franchises avoid until the pain becomes unbearable, until the losses pile up so high they cannot be ignored, and unless something miraculous happens, unless Dak discovers a level of brilliance he has never shown, unless these safeties reverse time and regain lost steps, unless coaches suddenly reinvent themselves after years of stagnation, unless Jerry Jones accepts truths he has resisted for decades, this season will not end in January glory, but in December ashes, and the Chicago game will be remembered as the night the unraveling began, the night the Cowboys stopped being a mystery and became a cautionary tale, the night fans who still dared to dream of Super Bowls were forced to confront the brutal reality that this team, this roster, this version of the Dallas Cowboys is not on the brink of greatness, but on the edge of collapse. And as the weeks unfold, as the Packers and Lions and Chargers prepare their game plans, as the Cowboys stumble forward under the weight of expectation, the only suspense that remains is not whether they will contend, but how far they will fall, how long this unraveling will continue, how much pain the fan base